guys, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development, where we're going to learn how to create Blackberry 10 natives applications that you can publish yourself on Blackberry World and even sell them and make some money. I'm really glad to have you here with me. It's really pleasant. And to get started, we're going to build Blackberry applications using the Cascade framework, which is based on Qt. And for those who know Qt, it's really a C++ application framework, which includes a bunch of UI elements. And actually, this is really a powerful thing because with Cascades, it uses QML to build the UIs with conjunction with JavaScript to handle the events. So it really gives you a lot of tools to create amazing user interface, amazing animations as well. The fact that it's built as well on Qt, which is C++ framework, you can use C++ to handle a bunch of business logic and work in team with QML to access QML information and have QML access C++ information. So it gives you the power really to divide your UI and your business logic in two separate fields. Have your UI on QML and have C++ handle the logic. It's really nice as well, like I said before, that you have JavaScript in QML. So for those of you who did a lot of web development, then you can build really a bunch of applications, really a lot of them, only using QML and JavaScript. And whenever you need to, for example, store data in SQL databases, then you will need to go on C++. So really in this course, what we're going to do is we're going to see how we can create amazing UIs using the power of QML and JavaScript. We're going to learn how we can handle the storage of data using persistent data storage, SQL, and other stuff like that. We're going to use C++ as well, see how C++ works with QML and how you can leverage the power of both together to make amazing apps. We're also going to go and use some of the hardware components of the Blackberry device. When I say hardware, I'm talking, for example, about the microphone, how you can create a super voice recorder. We can use a camera to create a photo booth or video recorder. Really a bunch of amazing things that we can do. So hopefully you're going to have fun during this course. One important thing that I want to introduce before going up to the next lesson is the Blackberry developer website, which we're going to use a lot on that course. So if you go on developer.blackberry.com/native, you'll have something like that. Build astonishing apps with the native SDK. So really have a lot of information. And in fact, during that course, we're really going to use that website a lot because that's really a gold mine. Whatever information you need to have, you're going to find it on that website. References. So if you want to know how certain functions, a certain object works, the different parameters that you have, the properties, the functions that you can call, then you'll have it under your reference tab. So you see how here you have the API reference. So you want to know how to integrate your BBM, the BBM application to your own app. Then you're going to see really in that how you can use them. For example, you want to use your sensors. You have Qt sensors here, and you have all the classes that you can really call during in your Blackberry application. There's also documentation here, which we're going to use a lot as well, and it's really good for you if you're starting because it has really a bunch of things that you can do and follow to get started and to create amazing apps. So you have the getting started here on the left that will show you how to set up your environment. Although we're going to go through together, you have it here. You have development fundamentals, so how you're going to use Cascade, QML, C++, all those things. So you really have a good introduction on that. You have introduction as well on user interfaces. So when you want to create lists, you want to use text, images, buttons. Really have a lot of information right there on the website. Another thing that's really nice and that we're going to use a lot is the simple apps link here. So what I think is really good is to learn by making apps. So we're going to make a lot of apps here to integrate different functionalities, different elements. For example, when we're going to learn QML, then we'll create a bunch of apps. For example, we'll probably create a BMI calculator and stuff like that. We'll go forward with bigger apps in the future, but we're going to use a lot of these sample apps. There's tens of them, probably over 100 that you have here, sample applications. So we probably going to use some of them and go through them step by step, we're going to build them together so that you can really integrate all the elements of QML, C++, and JavaScript to really build amazing apps that you can, in the future, hopefully sell on the BlackBerry world, or even use yourself if you're making, for example, you have a university project, you're making a robot, you want to control it with your BlackBerry phone. You have a lot of information here that shows you really how you can do this. So we're going to jump to the next lesson on building our environment. So hopefully you can have a lot of fun and build amazing app with me. All right, take care. Hello everyone, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development. Lesson 2, request a Blackberry ID and vendor account. As you can see in this lesson, we will create a Blackberry ID and a vendor account, assuming that you guys don't have any of these. If ever you guys own a Blackberry device, most likely you already have a Blackberry ID. That's the one you use to connect to BBM, for example. So you might want to jump straight to the vendor account creation. For those of you who don't have any of these two, we will create one. The reason why we're doing this right now is because obviously the goal of this course is to have you publish your own apps on the BlackBerry app world. In order to do that, you need your BlackBerry ID and your vendor account. So to create that, you simply go on your favorite internet browser. I tend to use Google Chrome or Firefox. If you guys are running on Mac as well, Safari works. So on the Google bar here, I'll type Blackberry Developer ID. And see here you have those two links. I'll go on developerblackberry.com. You can go on sign into Blackberry ID. But just for demonstration, I'll go here on Blackberry Developer. So we're just going to wait for it to load here. Shouldn't be too long. Alright, so on the Blackberry Developer webpage, this is what you're going to see here. And on the top right hand side, you have login and register. So you want to click on register here to register your Blackberry ID. And on the right here, Blackberry ID create one. On the left is what basically I use for my own apps. So if you click on here, you will have a form here that you will need to fill in with your name, last name, screen name, username, which is usually your email, and all that, and you click submit. When you submit that, you will receive an email, confirmation email actually, from BlackBerry. So if you look at your email box here, which is what I'm doing, let's go back to inbox. You see here the do not reply, telling you that your BlackBerry ID has been created. Obviously, to confirm that and to activate your account, you need to click confirm your email address. And that's going to activate your BlackBerry ID on the BlackBerry system. That's one of the ways to do it. You can also do it from your device if you have one, which will be a different setup, but just for the lesson, I'm showing you right now how to do it through the web browser. Once this is done, you want to be able to sell your apps or to offer them for free if you want on the BlackBerry app world. So in order to do that, you need to have a vendor portal. So if you if you go on Google and Blackberry Developer Vendor Portal, you see here vendor portal for BlackBerry World. And if you click on this link, you have here signing in with BlackBerry ID. So you already have your ID created, so you should be able to log into that. Here again, it brings you to a similar page. So if you have your ID, you would sign in to here. And when you sign in, you have to fill another form here for the vendor portal, whether you want to sell your apps for free or for payment. Once you fill it in, it's going to send you another email, so your inbox, BlackBerry World. And that email here will basically ask you for proof that you are indeed the person you say you are. So if you're an individual, it's going to ask you for a copy of an official government-issued ID showing your name and your date of birth. So I can think of passport or driver's license or things like that. So once you have all that, you send this to BlackBerry World request at blackberry.com, and it's going to take about one open business day or less. I mean, it really depends on when you fill it in, and with that you'll have your vendor ID ready for you to publish your apps. Not that you don't need this to create your own apps. It's just really if you want to publish them. But we're doing it right now, so if ever during the course of creating some apps and you want to publish them, then you'll have to go back and create your vendor portal because it's already created. All right, so thank you, and we'll see you on lesson 3. Bye. Hello everyone, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development, Lesson 3, Installing Blackberry Momentic IDE and SDKs. So, as you can see with the title, we're going to install the IDE, which is the development environment for BlackBerry devices, as well as the SDKs, different for each OS release of BlackBerry. So at the time of recording, 10.3 was already out, 10.3.1 as well. However, not all devices were running 10.3. Most devices are still running 10.2, such as the BlackBerry Z10 and BlackBerry Z30, for example. So let's get started. So once again, you need to download that IDE. So you go on the internet. So there's different way to do it. The quick way is to go on developer.blackberry.com/native/downloads. Otherwise, if you just go on developer.blackberry.com, that's basically the long path to do it. So again, it brings you to the home page that we saw on the previous lesson where we created a BlackBerry ID. And when you're there, you can simply click on develop here. So that's gonna basically bring you to this page, and here you have platform choice. So you click here, and obviously we want to create apps for BlackBerry 10. So go BlackBerry 10. We're doing native, so we're just going to click on native here, and you have here download the tools. Downloads, and here it brings you there. Sorry, so you can download the IDE for Windows, for Mac OS X, and Linux. For this recording, since I'm using my Windows PC and not my my MacBook, we're gonna go with the Windows version. I'm taking 64 bits, so we're just gonna click download. So I'm gonna wait for you guys to download it, and we're gonna move to the next steps. So let's just download it, and we'll resume in a few seconds. Alright, so we completed the download of Momentic IDE. So let's launch the installer. So I'll guide you through the install procedure. So sorry, it's popping on my previous monitor. So next, I agree. Install for anyone or just for me, it's up to you depending what system you have. And you select your folder. You can leave it as it is, or you can rename it the way you want. I'll call it BBDev. Here you go. And you install it. And that's going to take a couple of minutes to install. So I'll let you install it, and we'll have a quick overview on how to get your SDK installed. Alright, so the install is complete. You may check the Launch Momentic box here in order to launch Momentic IDE when you click on Finish. So it should take a few seconds to launch. Again, it's launching my the monitor, so once it pops up, I'm going to show it to you. Okay, so when it's launching, it's going to ask you to select workspace. You can define any workspace that you want. That's basically where all your projects will be saved usually. So every apps you're going to create will go under that folder, that directory if you prefer. So if you want to make sure that Momentic doesn't ask you for this every time you launch it, simply check the box here. Use this as the default and do not ask again. So I'm going to do this because that's annoying, and click OK. Okay, so Momentic IDE is up now, and this is what it looks like. For those who use with development, it looks like Eclipse as well. It's quite similar. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to install the SDK that we'll need to create our applications. In order to do that, we're going to go on Momentic IDE, click on Help, and update API levels. So it's going to take some time to progress, and then here you go. So on my PC, I already had some SDKs that are installed. So whenever they're not installed, you just have to click Install here. So here I have 10.3.1 that is available, and it has support for all the BlackBerry devices. So we're just going to go here and click Install. And it's going to download the software development kit for us and install it on Momentic. It shouldn't be too long, depending how fast your internet is. Mine's pretty fast, so it's going to take maybe a couple of minutes to complete it. So once we're done, we're going to come back and show you how it is completed. Okay, so it took some time, but the SDK is now installed, so you can see now under the API levels window installed, and now you have the Blackberry 10 native SDK 10.3.1. Again, that's the latest that's available in at the moment where I'm recording this right now. So anytime there's a new SDK that's released, you need to go on Help, update API levels, and then that's where you're going to get your new releases. Alright, so thanks for listening to lesson 3. We'll see you back on lesson 4. Lesson 4, we will discuss the installation of the Blackberry device simulator. If you have a Blackberry device already, you might not need a simulator. However, feel free to join the next lesson. We'll see how we can install different simulators, and even if you have a device with you, since there's different screen size, for example, for the Passport versus the Z30, then you might want to know how to install the simulator. All right, take care. Bye. Hi everyone, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development, Lesson 4, Installing Blackberry Simulator. So in this lesson, we will show you 2 different ways to install the Blackberry Simulator. One way to do it is through the website, Blackberry website. There's a link where you can download the Blackberry simulators. The other way is to use the Momentic IDE that we installed in Lesson 3 in order to get the new simulator. So in both cases, you need to obviously check the requirements. So if we go back on the page where we downloaded Momentic IDE, you have on the right here simulator. You can click here and download it right away. However, I suggest you to check the requirements. Why? Because the simulator will run inside of VMware software as a virtual machine, basically. So if you look at all the requirements there, you have one at the bottom here that says virtual machine. And it tells you right there, for Windows and Linux systems, download VMware Player 3.1 or later. And for Mac system, download VMware Fusion 3.1 or later. So if you're using Windows or Linux system, then click on the link here and download the VMware Player. It's free for that. For Mac, however, the VMware Fusion is not free. From last I've seen, you got the trial version, but I've not seen any free version yet. So unfortunately, that's something that you probably have to pay for. But that shouldn't be a big issue for you. So once you install the VMware Player or the VMware Fusion, you can go back and then click download. Okay, and that's going to download for you the latest simulator. Okay, so 10.3.1, you can download it and save it. So that's the first way to do it. I already have it installed, so I won't download it again. The second way to do it is to go through your Momentic IDE. So that's the one we installed in the previous lesson. To install the new simulator, you have here on the drop-down menu here where you have an IP address which is basically where you run your devices from, your apps on. So if you click on Add New Target here, you have the option to add your device to run applications, or you can click on simulators here, and that's going to show you the simulators that you have installed and that are managed by Momentic IDE. So they're going to show there. So in your case, if you didn't install anything, obviously that will be completely blank, right? If you want to install a new simulator, you can simply click on the button here, install a new simulator. And that's going to give you the different simulator versions that you have. So 10.3.1, 10.3, 10.2, 10.1, 10.0. Simply click install. That's going to download it for you and do the installation. Say that you're downloading it from the website. You might want to download an older version of an SDK for some reason, if that's what you want. In order to do that, you can click read more, and here you have simulator documentation. That's one way to get to the other versions. So when you click on getting started installing the simulator, and that's going to launch this page where you can click on need a different version. And that's going to give you the option to download a different version. So I'm going to let you go ahead, download and install the simulator. It's straightforward. I'll see you in a few minutes, depending on how much time it takes to install it, and I will give you a brief overview of the simulator. Okay, so now that you have the simulator installed, you need to go in the folder where you installed your Blackberry simulator. In my case, it was during the install, I decided to install it on the desktop. You can install it anywhere you want. So when you open the folder, it shows you right away the simulators that you downloaded from the website. That's what you need to do if you downloaded it from the Blackberry website. And that's really just to show you what it looks like once you launch it. So you double click on Blackberry Simulator, and it's going to open your VMware player. In my case, I had VMware Workstation because I'm doing other works on my machine. So that's what you're going to see. You click on Power, and that's going to launch the Blackberry device simulator for you. So look at the menu that you have here. F1, F4, we don't care really, but here it tells you press enter to select which device to boot into. Starting Blackberry 10 all touch 1280 by 768 in 5 seconds. So if you want to use a different device, you need to press enter. Brief overview: 1280 by 768 is the latest, the first Blackberry 10 device, which was the Z10 that they released in February 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Then you got the 720 by 720, which is the Q5 to Q10. You then get the All Touch, which is 1280 by 720. This should be the Blackberry Z30 or Blackberry Z3. You got the Blackberry 10 keyboard 1440 by 1440. That's the famous Blackberry Passport, which is a pretty big square screen. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's a pretty big device. And the last choice that you have is Blackberry 10 Classic Keyboard, which was released in December 2014, and it's a 720 by 720. So in my case, really doesn't matter which device you want. You just pick up the number that you want to for the device you want. So in my case, I'll go with Z30 or Z3. Press enter, and it's going to take a few minutes to launch the device. So it is launching the device now. So you see the Blackberry logo. It's going to take again a few minutes to load the OS. That's basically what you see on the screen of a real device when you booting your Blackberry. Okay, so we can see now the simulator is up. So you can navigate on the device, scroll left or right. You can see all the apps that are there. So if you're familiar with the Blackberry gestures, you should be quite confident to use that device without any issues. However, what I suggest you to do is to go on the Blackberry website, and you have here using the simulator. You might want to get familiar with that. Just make sure that you know how to launch your apps, how to simulate gestures and stuff like that. in order to run your apps correctly. All right, so that's it for lesson 4. I'll see you in lesson 5. For those of you who own a device, I'll show you briefly how to launch your apps, or basically how to get your device ready for Blackberry development. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development, Lesson 5, Set up your own device for development. So we will configure your Blackberry device to run your apps from the Momentic IDE. In order to do that, there's 2 steps that you need to follow on your device to enable the development mode and to make sure that your computer can detect your device through USB for development and not for file transfers, for example. So in order to do that, I'll refer you again to the main page for the Blackberry native development. So developer.blackberry.com/native. You don't need necessarily documentation /cascade. So once you're on the native website, let's do this. Let's go there. You click on documentation, getting started, and then set up your environment. You already requested a vendor account. Now, here, set up your device. These are the steps that you need to follow on the device itself to enable the development mode and make sure that Momentic IDE can detect your Blackberry device through USB. So, in order to do so, first thing you need to do, go under Settings on your device, Security and Privacy, Development Mode, and toggle it to on. Then click OK. That's going to activate the development mode on your device. You need to make sure that you already have a password on your device so that it could save, so that you can enable the development mode. Once this is done, as you can read here below, you can connect your device to the IDE using Wi-Fi or with the USB cable. So to do that, you need to go under Settings, Storage and Access, and make sure that the USB connection option is set to auto detect or to the target platform. So usually you just leave it to auto detect, and that's going to make your device available for development. I'll let you do that, and then I'll show you what you need to do in Momentic IDE. Alright, so on the Momentic IDE, it's quite simple. Again, for the same thing with the free simulator, you click here and add new target. This time you just stay on devices here, and then you click set up new Blackberry 10 device. And it's going to ask you to pair using USB or pair using Wi-Fi. In my case, my device is connected through USB, so that should be fairly easy. So it's going to ask you for the password, which is your device password. So I'm going to type my device password here, then click Next. And it's going to try to pair with my device. It'll take a few seconds to do this. Okay, so when this is done, you go into the second option, which is the signing, which you need to do if ever you never use your device. In my case, it's already done, so there's not much for me to do there. So you need basically to just follow the steps. They're really straightforward. And when you click Next, you can create a debug token or import one. These actually will be stored on your device and will be good for 30 days. That basically allows you to run your unsigned application. Unsigned because they're not available on the Blackberry app world, so you need to have that enabled on your device in order to run the apps that we're going to create together on Momentic IDE and also your personal apps. Once this is done, you click Finish. It's going to ask you for the password. So here you can see, please enter the password for Keystore Author P12, which is what we did on the sign-in process. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you because I already did it for my device, but you need to make sure that you remember that password. You enter your password and then you should be able to go to the next step. So let's see if I can actually remember my password. I think I had the right password. So right now it's creating the debug token and it's going to upload it to your device. So it is uploading the debug token. And here you go. You got my device here. Hi everyone, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development Lesson 6. First app, Hello World. As you can guess, we will create the first little app that will output Hello World on the screen of your device or on your simulator. In order to do that, you need to launch Momentic IDE. You then select File, New, and Blackberry Project. That will create a brand new project for you. On the application, make sure to select Cascades, because that's what we're going to cover during the course. And if you can see here, it creates a native C++ application using the Cascades UI framework. Under templates, we're going to select the standard empty project. There's other templates there, but for this lesson, we're only going to focus with this one, which will create a basic Hello World application that loads a QML file. Then select your project name. I'm going to put Hello World. And then I'm going to click Next. Select my SDK. Right now it's set up to 10.2 in my case. I'm going to select 10.3.1. Click Finish. And you got your project here that's created. On the project here, you'll see that there's a bunch of CPP and HPP file, which are your C++ file. We're not going to focus on that for this lesson. We're only going to focus on a QML file here. So the QML here, main.qml, is loaded by the C++ code. It first starts with the BB Cascade here, 1.4, so it's the latest framework that's available for 10.3.1. Then we create a first UI element, which is the page. A page, as you can see here on the left, it defines an individual screen within an application. Okay. Once you have your screen, you want to create containers on your screen to divide it appropriately for your application. So in our case, since we're only going to display Hello World, we only need one single container because we're going to use the full screen real estate. So you put container, and obviously you put your curly braces. Inside your curly braces, you then have label, which is a simple label that will display a single line of text. The label has different properties. The important properties for this lesson is the text property. Under that, we're going to define which text we want to output. In our case, the project was created with a Q string, parenthesis, then you have your quotes, and you have the actual string that you want to output. Keep in mind that this is hard-coded for now, Hello World, but we can create a variable, name it Hello World or anything we want, and just put the variable here without the quotes. After the closing parenthesis, you have a plus and retranslate on locally or language changed. That will be important to you if you want to create localized apps in the future. So say you want an app that works on a device that the main language is English and maybe French or German. That will allow you to translate the text automatically depending on the language that is currently used on the device. You then have the text style.base. That is not really necessary, but we're going to keep it there. This is simply saying that we're going to output Hello World in big text, so large font. So we have this here. Everything's ready. All you need to do now, you go here, select Run Hello World, which is the project, and then you run it on your simulator or on your device. Make sure that you have a green dot here, which means that your Blackberry simulator is actually running. So you need to start it before trying to run the program, obviously. Then you click Run, and that's going to build the project. First time you build the project, it might take a couple of, maybe a minute or two. And then after that, it's going to launch it on your Blackberry simulator. Okay, so now it is launching Hello World, as you can see here. It's 83%. We're going to wait for it to clear. So now it's cleared. We're going to open our simulator. It is actually launching it, and you see Hello World. So thank you for listening. I'll see you on lesson 7. Bye. Hey everyone, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development, Lesson 7, Containers. Why we're talking about containers? The reason why is because on a screen, basically containers are the main components that you will have to use for every single app you're going to create. They allow you to divide your screen in sections and subsections. So let's go into Momentic IDE so you can have a quick look on that. So we're using the same Hello World project that we had in the previous lesson. But notice how I deleted everything that was between the page curly braces. Not just for demonstration purposes. So what is a container really? As Blackberry says here, a container that can be used for grouping controls in other containers. So within that, you can put buttons, checkbox, list, images, dividers, and you can also put different containers in which you would put different components. So you can divide up your screen nicely. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the component from the left side here, and we're going to drop it inside the page. So that we have an empty container. And what's nice with the containers, you can put a background. So you see here how you have background. So we can change the background color, move it from white to black or whatever else we would like to have as a background color. So we can go, for example, and click here and put a black background. We can look at it. If we click here on design mode, we'll have a device that will show up in a few seconds with a black screen. So here we go, we have the device with a black screen. So we can go back to our code here. So one important thing to note with the containers is how you're going to divide up your layout. There's already predefined layouts for containers that you can use. And I'm going to show you two that are quite popular. The first one is the stack layout. So under QML properties, general section, you have the layout here, and you can select there's 4 of them, but I'm going to show you the stack layout here. Stack layout basically will put your components in a stack fashion. So whether it's top to bottom, left to right, right to left, bottom to top, that's the way it's going to display your components. You can see here on the left a layout that is used to position a container's children in a stack. Okay, and what's nice, you have the orientation here. So if you look on the right, top to bottom, left to right, right to left, and bottom to top. So what this does, let's say, for example, I want to put 2 buttons. I'm going to grab my button here, and I'm going to call this button here button 1. I'm going to call it this way. Let's say that the text on the button will be button 1. And I go here with the second button, and this one will be button 2. So I save this. Now what happened? When I'm in stack layout right now, I'm top to bottom. So if I go in my design mode, you should see here button 1 and the button 2 that is right below it. Okay, you can even do this with containers. So let's say I want to add another container here. Let's put it right here. I'm going to put my button 1 inside the container. And I'm going to do second container here. I'm going to put button 2. Let's for fun create a third button here that we're going to put as a text button 3. I'm going to change the background of the container so you guys can have a better view of the different containers. If I change this color, let's put it to dark magenta. So complex name, whatever. So, and then if I go in design mode, now you don't see the colors because of the size, but let me resize that. I can go here in margin and size, and I can add, for example, a padding here of, let's say I want to put it to 10, put another one here, 10, and then I can go back here in design mode, and you see your yellow here. So we're going to add more padding, so let's say 50 all over the place. And see how it updates your code automatically here. If you're padding of 50-50. So I can put the same thing, copy this, put it in the second container as well. So what do you see here? We have the main container here, and then inside that we have first container, which is yellow, which holds the button 1. We have a second container, which is dark magenta, holds the button 2, and then we have a third button 3 that is inside the main container only. Now if we go back here we got, you can see right now they're all stacked one on top of the other. Now, right now if I go back here, make sure I select the main container, go in design. What if I change the orientation? You can go left to right. See how it puts your button the other direction? Same here. Now if I do bottom to top, it's going to start from the bottom of the container and go up, which is why you have it in a different order. Okay, now let's erase all that except the buttons. Actually, I'm going to put 2 buttons here. Let's delete this. Button 1, button 2. Okay, we can look now at a different layout, which is the dock layout, which is really popular as well. So what's nice with this layout is that it allows you to align your components to the edges of your container, left, right, top, or bottom. So let me even remove this. We're going to go with only 1 button just for demonstration purposes. So if we go back on the design mode, as you can see right now, the button, if I'm using dock layout, is set up on the top left corner. And if I choose the button here, I can change its alignments. If I want to put it center, it's going to put it center vertically. I can put it horizontally on the dock layout. Now if I leave this and I change the layout of my container to stack, look what happens. Okay, it goes straight on top. Why? Because stack layout is on a stack, so it's going to put the elements from top to bottom, always going to start on top. So if I can go back in dock layout, you can see how you can place your buttons differently. Now we're going to add a second button, and you can see how the dock layout basically is really attached to the container and not the component itself, which means that if I align my second button, the same way I align my first button, they're going to appear one on top of the other. So if I go here, see button 2 is now on top. I can move it somewhere else, and you see button 1 and button 2. So the components are really independent of the other when you're using a dock layout. So it allows you really to place them the way you want. So you can even say really the way you would do it in code, you would probably go with a different container here and put your button here, for example. Have another container here. Oops. Which I'm going to put my button here. Now we're in the dock layout. I have to make sure that my container is aligned differently. So let me put this one aligned on top left. Okay, and I'm going to put the other one here on bottom right. So what will happen? I'm going to go here. Button 1 is here. Button 2 is here. If you want to see really with the colors, we can add paddings as well and change the colors. But that's really just to show you what it looks like. And then I can, for example, change this one and put it as a stack with the stack layout. So I can go here, make sure I select the stack layout, and I'm going to add another. Let me add a checkbox. Yeah, here for fun. Checkbox, enable, and then check me. And if I go here on design mode, you have your checkbox and your button 2. Why it appears at the bottom? Because that's your second container here that applies here, and your first container is on top here. Alright, so thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next lesson. Hi everyone. everyone, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development, Lesson 8, QML Fundamentals 2. In this lesson we'll talk about object names and IDs. So you might be wondering, what are object names and IDs? Well, basically when you're using Momentic IDE, when you have your containers and you have other components in it, you might sometimes want to refer to these components in another place, right? So let's say we have two buttons here, putting back the buttons we had in previous lessons. So this one we're going to call it button 1, give it the name of button 1. This one we're going to give it the name of button 2. That's a quite simple example, but it is really useful. So say now you have these two buttons and we're going to look at them here, button 1, button 2. Okay, let me change the background color to black here, so I can have a better view on my screen. There you go. So now let's say you want to change your text button here, but you want it to have the value of button 1 here. How do you do that? Then you need to create an ID. ID, you say button 1. So now with the property text for the second button, you can refer to the first button and give it its text value here. So you can say, for example, my text for button 2 is now equal to button 1 dot text. So the ID dot the property we're looking for. And what we're going to do here, I'm just going to save that. Then we're going here. We'll see button 1, button 1. You can also use that with different properties. So let's say I want to change the width of my button. So I have the property preferred width, and I put it to 100. When I put 100, that's 100 pixels. I want now to have my second button preferred height to be the same value as the button 1 preferred width. So you could go like this and say BTN1 preferred width. So I'll have my button 2 preferred height be equal to button 1 preferred width. So save this, and if I go here, so you'll see that my first button here is 100 width, and my height is similar here. We can change that if you want to have a better, easier way to see it. So change preferred height with preferred width, save that, and you go back, and both has the same width. So that's for IDs. So IDs are really to use to refer your component somewhere else in the QML document. You also have object names. Won't be able to demonstrate right now because I don't want to go into C++ in this section, but you would declare an object name like that, and you need to put quotes here and say, for example, button 1. And what this does, it gives you access to that button within your C++ code. So you would be able to go in C++ here and refer to that button. So that will allow you to grab, for example, the text here, or if you have, for example, a text field, you'll be able to grab whatever text you have in the text field from your C++ code and generate some processing out of that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on lesson 9. Hey guys, welcome to Blackberry 10 Development Lesson 9. In this lesson, we're going to talk about signal handlers. So you might be wondering what they are exactly. Actually, when you create an application, you can't say your application is interactive if you're not responding to any events from the user, right? You want to know if the user is clicking a button, what your application is going to do. If, for example, you're using a drop-down menu, and when you make a selection of the drop-down, you want, for example, your user interface to change. Well, in order to do that, you need to listen to those signals emitted by QML. So, quick demonstration, really. So, let's say, for example, I take a button here. So, a button obviously is clickable. So you have already here on the right side the on-click option here. So that's going to give you basically signal handlers. So when your button is clicked, it's going to go inside that function here. It's going to do whatever is executed there. Okay, so we saw an example before where we were changing the text of a label of the button only by using the IDs. So if I reproduce that, let's say what we had basically was button, and we had ID BTN1, and we had then text button 1. Okay, and then on the other side, what we had was here button 2. Now, if we look at the interface, it's going to take a few seconds. So you have button 1, button 2. Now, what if you want to change the text of button 1, or you want to display a new image or whatever? And inside you unclick, you would go here, and you would say, for example, whenever my button is clicked, I want button 1 text to change to hello. Right? And you save that. So we're going to run that program. So basically what's going to happen, anytime you click on the second button, it's going to change the text to hello. It's not going to revert it back. So basically it's going to work once. The other times you won't see a change. But that's basically what's going to happen. So we have the application running right now. So we can, for example, click on button 2. And you see here, button 1 changed to hello. So that's really how QML is handling the events. So here we're talking about a button, so it has on click. It has other features that we didn't necessarily looked at, but for example, you have the image source there, you have text as well that we saw we can change here. But if you go on the BlackBerry website, on the reference page, you can look for button, for example, any element that you have. And on the right side here, you will see QML signals showing up. See QML signals. So it tells you every single signals that your component can handle. For some reason, here you go. Show inherited QML signals. So all these signals can be listened to by button, for example. So you can, for example, change your width. And then if ever that width is changed, then say to your button, hey, I want to do this whenever someone is changing my width. Okay, and obviously when you click on signals, you have the definition of all your signals. So we're not going to go any further on what the signals are. Next lesson, we're going to talk about JavaScript, which are actually used to handle those signals. So we're going to go into a little bit more details regarding this, and hopefully you're going to have fun using JavaScript as well. All right, take care. If you just type function and the name of the function, but you don't have any ID for the container, for example, you can't refer to that function. So you'll type convert to Fahrenheit, but it will give you an error. As you can see in the bottom here, convert to Fahrenheit, can find variable. That's what I had basically when I was testing this app. So you do a function and then say convert to Fahrenheit. Now I want to receive a value of temp, which will be my temperature. Now inside my function, what I want to do, I want to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. How do we do that? Well, the formula is, let me see if I still have that page. Here you go. So you have Celsius is equal, Fahrenheit is equal to Celsius times 9 divided by 5 plus 32. So we can copy this. I'm going to put it in our, as a comment. So you want to put comment, you put slash slash, double slash if you prefer. So that's my function here. So basically I want to call that function, and whenever it's called, I want to return the value in Fahrenheit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do return n temp multiplied by 9 over 5. Let's do it this way. 9 over 5 plus 32. Let's do it this way. Temp. Yep, that looks good to me. Alright, so this I'm going to do this. Now, what I can do here, in button, I can call it. So just do root container. That's the ID of my container here, remember? Dot convert to Fahrenheit. Now, what will be my value temp here? Well, remember I have my text field here, and that's the one I'm going to use to enter my temperature. So I want to refer to this, temp. Okay? And I want to call the text label here. Right now there's nothing here in text. I can put an empty, you see, just a space here, but it doesn't have to be anything here. So I'm going to go here, copy my temp in Celsius dot text. It's going to pass a value to convert to Fahrenheit. You might want to try to be safe. Click text field and make sure that your input mode here is numeric and punctuation. Alright? So that way it's only numbers that can go in that. So I'm calling this. Now, what happened when I call this? It's going to return a number. I'm not saving my number to anything. I want to put the label as my number. So let's refer to label. So do label.text. Note that the label here isn't an actual label. It's the ID that I give to the label. So label.text is equal to this, and I want to put plus F. So if I put, for example, 0 degrees, so it's going to give me 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees F. Okay, so I think my code is pretty much done here. So we're going to run it and see what's the result inside the Blackberry simulator. So it's going to launch, and let's go and see what's the result. So I have the application here. I can, so we have the application here, so let's try this. 6. Oh, nothing's showing up. That's probably because I forgot to change my visible here from false to true. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go here, call my label, and do visible is equal to true. And just for fun, I'm going to change my label text color, put it to white. Oh, let's try yellow. Ugly, but who cares? And press play. And we should see it showing up on a Blackberry device in a few seconds. So we have the application here now. I can type 5. Click to Fahrenheit. You have here 41 Fahrenheit. So you see how simple it is. I can put 0. It's going to give me 32 Fahrenheit. Quite simple. So now obviously you can arrange that the way you want, but the goal really was to show you how you can call a function, a JavaScript function from inside your code and refer to it later on that side. Now let's say you want to have your JavaScript on a file separately because you want to call make your functions available to different QML files. How do you do that? So I'm still using the same hello world. I'm going to go here, and inside assets you can create subdirectories if you want. So let's say I'm creating a JavaScript subdirectory JS. So a new folder, just call it JS. Now I want to create a function inside of it. So a new file, and that file I'm going to call it temp functions .js, and you create a file. So I created my JavaScript file here. So let's copy my function here. I'm going to do this X. I'm going to paste it here, and you save that file. So now how do you import that JavaScript file inside your main.qml? So you need to go here and you type import, same way you import BB Cascade, but you put quotes. Now mine is on the JS folder, so I can go here and type JS because it's going to look inside your assets directory, right? So JS / name of my file, temp function .js. As what? You want to give it a name so that you can just use that name inside your QML file. So let's say as temp function. Now, how do you call that? Well, you go back to your text here, I'm going to delete that. Delete it. And I'm going to call that function. How do you do this? I take the reference name, so temp function dot. What's the name of my function here? Convert to Fahrenheit, and you see how it returns it to you. So convert to Fahrenheit temp. Remember my temperature was temp in Celsius dot text, because we're getting the value of the text field here. So we're calling the function, and then we should have something that's fairly good. So let's have fun and look what this gives us. Give me a second. Container. So we did here, so let's run it. So we'll open our device. We should get our application. Here you go. So let's say 9. Enter, and as you see, it returns your temperature. So it gets the JavaScript file, calls the function that inside of it, and returns you the proper value. So that was the third way and really useful way to use your JavaScript functions. The fourth way is with the connect. So remember in the Blackberry website, connecting signals JavaScript function, we had that here, where there's a function change text, and all we do, we call in a container when we call on creation completed. So this basically tells you that whenever the container is fully created, then I'm gonna call. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna listen to my button clicked and make sure to connect that function here, change text. So we're completed with JavaScript. The next lesson we're gonna start creating apps. So I believe I showed you a lot of fundamentals on QML, so we're going to spend more time creating apps for the next 2 lessons, where we're going to use other components. We're going to try to mix them together and create beautiful apps using only JavaScript and QML. On the next section, we'll start going in depth in QML using different ways to navigate in your application, as well as using C++. So I'll see you on the next lesson. That my image view are centered vertically. Let's go have a quick look, see what it looks like. So now it looks a little better. I might want to change my paddings a little bit, but right now it doesn't really matter to me. So what I'm going to do here on slider, I want to basically listen to the event. When I'm moving my slider, what's going to happen? Okay. So basically, to show the image and to change the opacity, I'm going to click on slider. And you see on the value change. So remember what that means. It's an event, right? So it's listening to the value, and whenever this change is going to call this here. So what I want to do, I want to change the opacity. So I'm going to do day.opacity is equal to value. And that should change my opacity. One thing though I forgot I did wrongly, I have to actually invert these two, because otherwise image day is below night, so it's never going to appear, right? So let's do it this way and run it. And it should be running fine from the first time. So we're going to open up our device. So here we have our application. So you can see as you slide here, it reveals the day picture. So you can see how it looks, how it works. You can edit that program, make it look even better than I did. Right? You can do even better than that. Just fix your padding playing your margins on the side. You might want to go and read a little bit more, but that's going to give you a good idea on how to use a slider in at least some apps that you can build. So the next lesson, we'll spend time creating a BMI calculator with much more details. It's something that looks much better, and we're going to use different controls as well. So I'll see you on the next lesson.